Now let's go to News 6 morning anchor Justin Warmoth for the Weekly.
This is the Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. In the midst of the pandemic, the U.S. Census Bureau is conducting the 2020 census, marking the 24th time the country has counted the population. The impacts are massive. But with the coronavirus being top of mind, I wanted to know whether Americans are actually filling out their questionnaires. This morning, Marilyn Stevens, the Assistant Regional Census Manager for the Southeast, is here to update us on how the count is going so far. All right, Marilyn, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Are Americans filling out the census?
Yes, they are. I believe that because we have the three options this census cycle, that you can respond online, by phone, or if you're a traditionalist, you can still respond by mail. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing is nearly 62% of the nation's population has responded already. And in the state of Florida, we're at nearly 59% overall. But of course, that looks really good on the surface. Right. But when you get underneath that number, that's where the story really is.
And so what is the story? What are you seeing with those numbers?
Well, with those numbers in some areas of our cities, like in Orlando, we're seeing response rates of about 40%. And so that is a concern that we really still need to emphasize the importance, the ease, and the security of the census, because many of the households have yet to respond with all of the messaging that we have put out thus far.
Mm-hmm. What's been the marketing plan? Obviously, when you were putting this all together years prior and working on the 2020 census a few years ago, you didn't factor in a pandemic.
Right, and one of the things that people don't realize that we really prepare for every eventuality.
Okay.
We actually do what's called an end-to-end, where we actually do a real census in real time. To gauge how all the operations are working. But I can assure you, we did not plan for this. Mm-hmm. We did not plan. We talked about weather, all sorts of things, but nothing that would be this sustained and affect the entire population of the United States at one time.
So how has your marketing and things like that changed to adapt to the environment we're living in right now?
But one of the things that we had to really do really on the fly is that with COVID-19, we had to suspend all field operations. So in some households, we actually hand deliver census materials. We don't mail them. Some high-rise buildings, we do that, all the rural areas, so that when we hand deliver, we're still on the same timeline with the households that we are mailing materials to. So when we had to pause that operation in mid-March, then that throws the timeline off, because now we're saying you have your materials, and here we have so many households that did not have any materials at all, had not received anything from us. So that made it slightly difficult. And then the external partners that we depend on to get the word out through festivals and conferences and the schools. And when all of those things had to stop, then we had to go back to adapt and to say, how are we going to do this in this environment? Mm-hmm. And that has been the challenge.
Have the majority of people been filling out the census online? Is that what you're seeing? Is just
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In some areas, most people have been completing online. Mm-hmm. In other areas, people are looking at calling by phones, because some people like to talk to someone so they can ask questions. Mm-hmm. And still there are others, when they finally get that paper questionnaire in their hands, they're more familiar with that, and they complete it and they mail it back. So, but most people that go online are really happy. I tell everybody that a few weeks ago, I got a call from a person who had my phone number, and I don't know how they received it, but they called me and he said, "Are you the census lady?" And I was like, "Yes, I think." And he says, "Something's wrong with your website. I'm trying to do my census." So after a few tries, he couldn't get the URL right. So I got his email, sent him the link. He got on, and when he got to the part about putting your birth date in, he screamed. I'm thinking, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yes, I love this. The machine knows my age, 92. And I'm thinking a 92-year-old is completing the census online. And when he finished, he says, wow, that took less than 5 minutes. He said, can I do it again? I said, trust me, once is enough. We're okay with that.
Yeah, it is very simple. I filled mine out pretty immediately after I got the email, and it's rather easy. What are some of the questions though that people do have that they want answered before they do fill it out online or maybe fill it out over the phone?
Number one, is my information safe, and can anyone use it against me? That's the number one question.
Mm-hmm.
And the response is, your information is safe and secure, and no one can use it against you. And they said, how can you really reassure me of that? Census data is protected by 2 laws, Title 13 of the United States Code and Title 44 of the United States Code. Title 13 states that we, the Census Bureau, cannot publish anything that will identify an individual or household with any of their responses. Then it further states that no one can get your information. No law enforcement, no police, no IRS, no CIA, no ICE, no immigration cannot be subpoenaed by the courts, cannot be gotten by the president, and definitely cannot be gotten by me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, census employees have what's called lifetime sworn status. That even when we leave the Census Bureau, we cannot reveal anything that will identify an individual or household. There's a pretty steep penalty of 5 years imprisonment and or a $250,000 fine per infraction. And Title 44 states that census data is sealed for 72 years. So the last census that we released that will reveal who said what was the 1940 census in 2012, and we will release the 1950 census in 2022.
According to the latest data, which I'm sure you're well aware of, Latinos are responding at a slower rate than the average U.S. Why do you think that is? Is that because of the fear of maybe ICE showing up and immigration officials showing up at their house?
Yes, a traditional fear of government, a traditional mistrust of government. So we do have a lot of our hard-to-count populations that are minority groups that are very, very fearful of this. So we work with community organizations and other service providers and faith-based leaders that these populations depend on to get information that they trust. These are their trusted voices to get the word out that the census is safe and the census is secure. And we feel that will assist us.
Being in the midst of a pandemic and also with the heightened awareness of social injustice in our country, how does the census and what comes out of the census factor in, and why is that equally important to get the funding needed, specifically when it comes to healthcare and things of that nature?
Right. One of the things that we're really happy to hear is that our elected officials and our trusted voices in the community, most of the time they speak, one of the things they say, you need to participate in the census, that this heightens that. Medicaid, Medicare, hospitals, community health centers, services for seniors such as Meals on Wheels, early Head Start programs, the National Nutritional Breakfast and Lunch Program for children, Pell Grants for college students, affordable housing, all of these things that are just more highlights are put on them now during a pandemic. Even some of the funding formulas for unemployment insurance, all of that depending on the census. And then you have to live with the numbers for 10 years. And then the question becomes, do the numbers in your community support the needs?
We have to take a short break. We'll have more on the 2020 census, including how they're planning to count college students when classes resume in the fall. We'll be right back.
This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Welcome back. Despite being in the middle of a pandemic, nearly 62% of the nation's population has filled out the 2020 census. And While that is a good start, there is still a lot of work to do. Assistant Regional Census Manager Marilyn Stevens is back now with more on how the Bureau plans to get everyone counted.
Would you rather have someone be counted twice? Maybe they filled it out twice or filled it out at one household and then someone else counted them, or be undercounted?
Well, one of the things is that with college students,
Mm-hmm.
let's use them as our example here. College students are counted where they attend school. So the on-campus college students are easier because they're in our group codes enumeration. But off-campus college students, they count themselves, they self-respond in the same way that the general population does. But when they go home, the parents feel they should be counted at home. So oftentimes the parents include them on the questionnaire at home. And then the school is emphasizing you're to be counted in the city where you go to school. So that when we do that cross-reference, we will make a telephone call and say, were you in school here in this particular city? And then one of those will be canceled out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, it's just there's a cancellation factor there.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned some of where this funding will go once decided, once everything is counted up and how you divvy it up. What are some of the negative effects, though, for a city, county, maybe even a state, if they're undercounted?
Well, the programs will be impacted. Yeah. Right now, you will notice, and you hear from elected officials now about getting funding from the federal government during this pandemic and the types of resources that they need. Well, one of the things that those and all of those funding formulas are these population statistics. So if in fact I want to say that there are 150,000 residents that we are concerned about, that we have to provide resources to and for, but my population number shows that there are only 85,000, then there's going to be a shortfall. Yeah. So I don't have a justification for the other people because they were not counted. They're not in the funding formula. So that can cause a major misstep. And let's use like a Head Start program, for instance. So many times when we're in the community talking with people, they'll say, well, tell me why our Head Start program doesn't have enough slots for all the children that are eligible. And then I'll talk about did you include children in the census? So even with projections, there could still be an undercount of the children because for whatever reason, millions of children are left off of the census questionnaire. Parents do not include children. So we put a special emphasis on that. That's just one of the programs that be heavily impacted if parents do not include children.
You know, those hard to reach communities that you talked about that normally you do send people out and knock on doors. Can you still do that in the middle of a pandemic? And how will you change sort of the approach there and to make sure that you reach those people who just may be not aware that they need to fill out the census? Because I know you have some people who just won't fill it out, as you mentioned, in fear of government and things like that. But the people who just are unaware and they need to fill it out, they'd like to fill it out. How do you get the message across to them and without having to go to their door?
Right. One of the things is the non-response follow operation is the largest census operation. And that's the operation where we follow up with non-responding households. That operation, if we were in our normal timeline, we would be in the field right now. Mm-hmm. But that operation now will not start until the end of July on a flow basis across our 7-state region. What we're doing now is taking a look at the communities with the low response rates. So we are having our virtual meetings with elected officials and community leaders, and actually just focusing in on those areas and helping them to come up with a strategic plan to raise awareness amongst those groups. And we are tracking it to see what's working the best so that we can share those best practices. So our focus now will be on the non-responding and the low response areas so that when we get to the non-response follow-up operation, we would like for it to be one of the smallest in history. with the number of options that households have to respond. And some people are just saying, with the pandemic, with the schools closing, so many priorities. And it's not that they don't mean to participate. It means that the census has just been pushed back. So we understand multiple priorities. So people say, well, when is the deadline? Just tell me when the deadline is. I said, well, we've extended it through October. However, the deadline for you is today.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Today.
Because when does that data need to be ready to go for when this money and the congressional districts be realigned and things like that? When does that begin to happen?
All those timelines have been moved back.
Yeah,
all the timelines have been moved back because of the pandemic. And when we do go in the field, our staff will have on PPE. So when we go to knock on the doors, but one city in Florida, their emphasis is avoid the knock, self-response today.
That's a good way. That's a great marketing tool there. Obviously with the pandemic and there are certain area code or zip codes that are hotspots and have a lot of cases, and then some that have very little and very, very few cases at all. Does that factor in for when you go into maybe a community?
That could factor in. There are a lot of discussions now. Remember, this is all new for us.
Yeah.
And remember, in a census, we have to account for all 140 million households nationwide. So that's being factored in. So we're doing everything we can to get people to self-respond. We tell them the easiest way and the most fun way that we hear about is going to my2020census.gov and completing it online. However, if you would like to talk with a representative and do it by phone, go to 1-844-330-2020. And if you really would like to complete that questionnaire because you feel better with that, fill it out, mail it back to us, no postage necessary.
And just, if you, I don't know if you have a final message, because I'm pretty sure you laid it all out there for the folks of Central Florida who either are skeptical of filling it out or just haven't gotten around to it. One final message for them.
One final message is this. Those that have completed the census, we want you to become a census ambassador. Make a list of 10 of your friends, relatives, and associates. Call them up and say, have you completed the 2020 census? If 6 say they haven't, add 6 more. Encourage those 6 to complete it. And then tell them when you complete, you become a census ambassador and you get a circle of 10. And I think that and what we're doing with the interview with you this morning, this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow, on my birthday, every day, and we can get the message out that the census is important, that it's easy, and it's safe. And when should I respond? Today.
Some really great tips there. My thanks to Marilyn Stevens for the valuable insight this morning. For more information on the census and the impacts it has for the next decade, just head to clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Wormuth. Hope you have a great Sunday.